Hi everyone, just we're going to talk about OBS for a second. I'm still configuring things and reconfiguring after solving our little issue. So let me just take a moment and do that here. I'm also renaming things because I used to have a left or right configuration, and now I have the top and bottom one. Now I'll probably go back to left and right in some future time, but right now we have this. So what I'm going to talk about today, while I'm using a slight adjustments here, is we're going to talk about OBS and how I solved quite a large mystery. It's still a mystery, and I'll explain that. But at least I was able to have or create a workaround. It could be partly due to my inexperience with the OBS, having been a Wirecast user beforehand. And let me just fix up this view here for you guys. Having been a Wirecast, I know you guys know about Wirecast, but fixing up these things for you guys, put a few adjustments here as we go along. So while I was doing that, and let me just get everyone else into this screen with us today, and welcome everyone to the stream right now. We are talking about OBS, and we're going to, I was doing a few adjustments. I was on another stream with other channels, and we just now got hooked up with YouTube. And basically, we've been having issues with frame rates dropping like crazy, erratically, in fact, up and down, going all around, with a machine that really it shouldn't be happening to, even with OBS's statements concerning the specs for the OBS to perform its duty. It seemed that I'm always overpowered. And even after that, this last, just yesterday, we added a, it was an 8 megabyte, was it 8? I think it's megabyte. Let me just check on that. I could be totally wrong on that. So let me look at where we can get our system RAM. So we used to, it's gigabyte, right? So megabyte. Someone said, "Damn, no wonder." No, we had 8 megabyte. 8 megabyte came with this computer out of the box about 2-3 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. And so while I was having that OBS problem with the lost frames and all of that, I thought it would need more RAM as a solution. So I got that. I got 2 Ballistics 16 gigabyte each, because this computer's a Ryzen. It's an HP Pavilion 690. It's not the top of the line of anything, but it brings in some power in a small frame, and it's not like the laptop that I had that still needs to get repaired here. But at least to get us back into the game, so to speak. And it came with an 8 gigabyte. So I figured I would get bring it up. It had 2 channels, so I needed 2 memory sticks and get that boosted up to 32 just to eliminate RAM as a possible issue about the frames dropping. Now, when you look at OBS, you'll see below there's a calculator, there's a registry, a monitor, if you will, of how the resources, what's happening. And so right now I have 2 OBSs running at the same time on the same computer. It's not stressing it. It has on the CPU measurement has 10.5%, now went down to 9.75. On the It's at 30 frames per second. That one's on YouTube, and then the other OBS instance is, and I opened OBS twice, 2 times on the same computer. So I have 2 boxes, graphical user interfaces, and 2 OBSs running simultaneously. Obviously, I have to do one. You're seeing me a little different on YouTube, a little closer up than everyone else on all the other channels, because I have to split the camera. So one camera is doing YouTube and the other camera is doing everyone else. So and I have to keep it that way so that there's no, it won't show you the same camera on the 2 different OBS instances. Then, and I can switch up the cameras by going into an intermediate screen of something else and switching the camera, doing the, coming back in while both cameras are off then, and coming back in on, using the other camera feed for the other instance of OBS, and then obviously the remaining one for the second one. So I can switch these scenes, but I have to go through an intermediate scene first that both cameras are off because they're not using a shot, and then switch on the other camera for the top one and the bottom one. So like that. So that's always possible. It's a little fastidious. And I don't know yet how the hotkeys are going to work on this. That is another step that I've not gotten into, and I don't know how having 2 instances of OBS is going to mess things up. We'll see. But in any case, I mean, obviously I can have one key only for one instance of OBS, one profile, and then just look at a show in terms of 2 profiles and dividing up the hotkeys between one profile and the other. And so that way, maybe we can have some simultaneous hotkeying. So that I'm yet to test. I've yet to hear anyone talk about that. But again, I've not been reviewing all the videos there are about OBS or about different tricks that people have employed. So what I figured, after I put in the memory, I was hoping that the freezing would stop. And of course it didn't. There was some elimination, but of course when you're creating test scenes and whatnot, sometimes, and you have other scenes already set, sometimes you can't track what is done on one scene, what was eliminated, so you lose the ability, your scientific strictness to really, and that control environment to really track down what is causing what on your OBS broadcast, etc., etc. So I started to see that, hey, listen, when you start a new OBS profile or and scene, just the one camera shot, that's it. It was working well. There was no frame drops. This is after I put in more RAM. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't recall before the RAM. We did have a perfect run. When I first got the computer, I did my first broadcast with the new computer. We had a perfect stream. Perfect in all ways. No, not a problem. Right out of the box. Downloaded, installed OBS, did a quick scene. We were on the air. It's very, very quick. Everything was right, you know? But after a while of starting to build some scenes and also mixed with the reality that I'm downloading other software onto the computer and it's chomping up the available disk space, and assuming because these frames were dropping that maybe it has to do with some disk space as well. So you had to deal with all the possibilities. So then I started moving things around and reinstalling and doing stuff to clear out a little bit more on C, and stuff like that. Because I started imagining maybe because of the 8 GB of RAM, and then the C drive was almost getting full. Not still a good amount, but it was getting. You got that little white space. That's left. I was saying maybe it needs more, and he just needs more. So that was my thinking, that it needed more and whatnot. So it's what we ended up doing was changing, flipping out the memory yesterday, and I started broadcasting. And again, I did the test one. It's perfect again, but again, that was the one with only a webcam shot. When I went to some of the original shots, the older ones, the ones that the main streams that I do, and then we started having the problem yet again. So I figured, well, here we are, over $200 was spent on getting this memory, and we're still having the same issues. I started thinking about, wait a minute, maybe this is something like a ghost. Let me explain. Meaning a memory ghost, meaning something that is still within OBS, that OBS is still has it similar to like a corrupted file, that for some reason it's still corrupted. And the reason I say that is because at times, and this is maybe a little bug in OBS, so I'm going to let you guys know in on that. At times when I have, for example, a blank scene, and it just simply, when I want to go black and I don't want any inputs on, any cameras, no mics, nothing, I have this blank scene. So at times during all this testing and whatnot, I would hit the blank and the cameras would stay on. One or both cameras would stay on these Logitechs. They have a nice little blue LED light around the camera lens, so it lets you know that the camera is on. And I said there should be no camera on right now, and duly so. There should have been no camera on, yet at times there were 2 cameras on, or sometimes 1 camera, depending which scene I was on or whatever. So I was thinking that that's what I meant by the ghost, meaning that something isn't switching off. It's lagging to switch off. I also noticed during some of the testing that the video would not be in sync with the reality. In other words, I would go like this, but the video would not do this until like a moment later. And this is without streaming, by the way. Everything I'm talking about is without streaming. When we did stream, the same thing would occur. but it's not an issue. It wasn't an issue of the internet. I saw a lot of OBS articles that talked about, Wi-Fi and the upload and down, what your internet speed was, the quality of connection, the distance from you and the ISP or the upload, whatever it is. It had nothing to do with that, because basically our issue was without streaming also as well. So it didn't matter if we were streaming or not streaming. This issue would occur. So we went through that phase as well, and I figured that it's probably something that's sticking in OBS. There will be times where I would have to click it again and also do some of the setting. Click on the settings as if you know OBS, you'll see that, like with this resources or with the scene, the sources itself, you would click the right click, and then you'll get the menu. And then you can do, let me see what this tells you here. You could do the properties, and then when you hit the properties, you just okay it, and then all of a sudden, the situation of the whatever's stuck would fix itself. I found that happening. I think there's maybe a bug in OBS where certain sources get stuck. I'm just saying perhaps. I noticed that was happening. And we researched online. We did a lot of forums, a lot of the OBS articles. Some things were almost exactly, the people complaining were almost exactly what I was experiencing. And, some people say that one idea cleared it up for them and whatnot. But most of those ideas had to do with streaming, with the actual internet connection, which our situation has nothing to do with that. And I see most of the requests for information that had nothing to do with internet. The person said this is happening without streaming. They were mostly left unanswered. I think most of those comments were left unsatisfied. So that's why I'm doing this video, because in the case that you're one of those OBSers that were never able to resolve that issue, I think I found it now. It has a little bit to do with the way OBS is working. I'm thinking there still may be a slight bug in it with the sticking of resources in the environment of the instance of OBS. If the developers can understand what I'm talking about, that it seems that even though you switch to another scene, for example, or another source, that previous source seems to lag on. It seems to still be there. And what happens then, and apparently according to some of the things I read, OBS, when you load it in, and I know this also that Wirecast does the same thing. When you have these resources in a scene, for example, Wirecast uses a different way of presenting scenes, and I've had over like 50 videos loaded in Wirecast, and I was able to do my business without much of a hassle. 50 clip videos. They weren't 2-hour long videos or anything, but 50 clips ready to go. So the 50 clips come into a lot of video space, and it does chew up memory. But Wirecast handled it. And here I see, I'm really, unfortunately I have to say this, but OBS seems not to be able to handle too many sources at the same time. And they don't have to be on. You can click off the, disconnect when you're not using it. You can flick on the what is it, remove item when it's not in use. It doesn't matter. The more stuff you got, the more baggage. Almost like those cheap airlines that they want to charge you for every bag you carry, right? And OBS seems to want to charge your memory or your GPU something. And I can't even say it's GPU or CPU, because when I'm monitoring both CPU and GPU, it's negligible. It's almost like what I'm telling you, 9% here on my CPU for the YouTube instance of OBS, and 2.6% CPU on the restream one that's going out all over the place. Although that doesn't affect, it's just one stream going out there. But it's still, come on. I mean, we're not taxing this at all. In Wirecast, I remember I would normally broadcast without problem, hitting that red line. Hitting that 80%, 90% CPU. I was hitting that way up there on Wirecast, and again, but without problem, no drop frames, nothing. And here, I was having drop frames just with this 2%, and really less, because when we're not streaming, it's like 0.8%, 0.8. Come on, 0.6. So it doesn't make sense. And I'm measuring the GPU also. It's like dead. It's like flat. Okay, nothing happening. It's not aroused. All right. So what could this be? And my only figuration is that it has to do with OBS itself. Something is jamming things up inside OBS, just inside the OBS. Doesn't make sense to me, because it should show up as a tie up in the GPU or the CPU. No, it's not. It's just that OBS itself looks like it's jamming itself up for some reason. And we had to do, the other thing you got to look at is make everything the same size. Right now I'm doing the 1080. It didn't make a difference. Going down to 720 didn't really make it, because it's not the problem. You have the power. You have the RAM enough to do it. OBS has enough power to do it on 1080p. That's not the issue. But at least making everything the same. If you're going to do it in 1080, just make it 1080, period, across the board. And then if you're going to do 720, then do the 720 across the board, everything. Boom. In and out, in and out, in and out. That's it. Make everything the same. So that's generally good streaming policy anyway. Just make sure you don't have any reason for OBS to work extra. Just it comes in this side, just ship it out the same side. We're not going to do any more extra work on that. And that's a general good policy when you're streaming or when you're recording. Just make sure you keep everything the same. That will, especially if you're having issues, because then something's being taxed that you don't know about. Okay, so let's get into what the solution finally came to be. What the solution came to be was that I have now put in a show, let's say when you have a show, my thinking was making the intro, the beginning, let's make it more general, the beginning of the show, the introduction, music, slides or video, and then my camera shots for the body of it, and also game screen or the browser screen as OBS uses it, or even the monitor screen, whichever resources you need for the content. And then also the exit of the program, the end, the outro. I was doing all of those on one scene collection, as OBS terms it, so that I would do the whole show within one screen selection. And what I found was that the frame drop ceased and the freezing stopped happening once I removed that totality, that total show experience. Once I removed it from one scene collection, not just one scene. See, because you have the scene collection and then you have the scenes, right? I'm talking about the whole scene collection. What I did was to resolve it. I figured, the only thing here that's going on is that OBS has an issue with all these resources in one scene collection. So what I did to resolve this issue is to separate the introduction from the content and from the ending into separate collections. The interesting thing is that OBS in its the instructions I've seen online, I don't know what other instructions there are, but at least in the ones I've seen from OBS, they say that you cannot change from one scene collection to another while streaming, recording, whatever. When it's on, it's connected, whatever. And I found that to be not true. Now, it may be the latest update. It may be my 32 gigs of RAM. Could be. Could be the Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, whatever it is you got, the high power. It may be that that was true with a typical machine, but it is not true any longer, at least not for me. And by placing the resources for the introduction of the show in a separate scene collection, and then the main body of the stream in a content scene collection, and then the ending, and really the intro and the outro, you could combine it if it's the same. If you have different resources for the end, a different video, I would put it on a separate scene collection. And so simply I would just change from one scene collection to another, and that would be it. So that's what I started doing. And this issue of freezing changed. Now, you see here, I'm going to resize that for a moment here. I just changed the scene collection in the other stream, the other instance of OBS, and I just changed it now, and I fixed up the slide because it was obviously set for another dimension, and it's going fine. You guys are listening to me. You are actually on the other channel. They're watching a different scene collection. I just switched. Unfortunately, though, the switching is hard. So it's not like it's not like, and I just switch back. So it's not like a smooth transition. It's just just it goes to black, and then the quickness of my mouse fingering and selecting the different scene collection is as fast as and abrupt as what happens. But as everyone noticed, you could not tell, those who stayed with me on YouTube, for example, could not tell that I did a switch or anything on the other stream. You wouldn't have known unless I told you that. And the people on the other stream, they saw the switch. It was kind of abrupt, but there was no interruption in the stream, and we're continuing to stream normally. So that is and we have no frame drops. We don't have any exasperated CPU. It has remained the same as before the scene collections was flipped or switched or anything. So basically, I this has solved my issue. It may solve your issue if you're still having issues with the frame drops, the frame rate. This has nothing to do with streaming. If your frames are dropping and you have this, like, this freezing happening even when you're not streaming, then it may be due to a lot of resources. And by a lot, I mean a little, because like I said, I used to do some monster resource allocation in Wirecast, and Wirecast could handle a lot of stuff I threw at it. Okay, I really threw a lot of stuff at it. And again, but I had I still have it, but it's not operation at this moment. It's $6,000 piece of equipment to do it with, right? So again, not everyone has that, but the, why OBS shouldn't really, in my estimation, have a problem with a few pictures, um, even though they're 1080, they're gigantic like that. I don't see why you should have, for me, why you should have that issue. Having some audio, music. What else did I have? Maybe a short video clip, for an introduction. We're supposed to be making shows here. They're supposed to be visually interesting. Um, and so I really don't see why OBS was having that issue. And granted, people using OBS all the time without this issue. So I don't know. It's like all things. It says certain particular configurations, environments. Who knows? I just know that it wasn't a CPU, it wasn't GPU, it had nothing to do with streaming. And simply, I found that if I just loaded up the camera by itself on a clean profile, on a clean scene collection, we had no freezing in the video or anything like that. And I figure then OBS is having itself, because not the computer. OBS is having some type of issue, and that combined, that what really convinced me that that was what was happening, was the fact that the cameras would linger on when it was a blank scene. There was no supposed to be nothing, and I clicked it, make sure that it did transfer over, so that you got a black screen on both. I have the studio mode on, so you have both the incoming video and the outgoing video, and both of them turn black. They would turn black, but yet the camera light stayed on. So that told me that those cameras were on because something was sticking. OBS was keeping them on. And so there has to be something in OBS that's making everything stay on. That's I think that's something that maybe they need to look at. It could be machine specific. It could be, because like I said, but they really, I would say, that's up to them to figure out why that's happening. But anyway, for us, I think this is a decent workaround. If you have a computer that is able to handle, 32 gigs, should handle it, right? Then you should try the scene remedy, the scene collection method of splitting up your broadcast in intro, content, and then the exit, the outro, and make that 3 different scenes. Scene collection, not just scene. Entirely different scene collections, separate, so that what's loaded in to the OBS environment is limited. It's cut into a third, really, and it's arguably the most intensive resources will be for the introduction and for the closing, because that's where you will put that video and some special effects and whatnot and text. So that will then be more loading of resources that, by the way OBS and probably most streaming software is designed, will be loaded into that brain and working in the background there while it's still trying to do your show. I think that's something that you have to look at, and it would solve my problem. So my problem's done. It's solved. I'm pretty much happy. I'm absolutely. I'm so sure. I mean, we've gone on without any frame drops. This was not possible. And last Sunday's teaching on my church channel was totally just a chop job. Really was a chop job, and it was really bad last week. But now I think we have solved the issue, and that is by separating the scene collections logically, of course. And so when you're ready to end the show, you'll go to the ending of the show scene collection and then just go through that. And the good thing about it, at least, is that since it's the ending of this show or the beginning, the intro, all you have to do is switch to that scene collection. More so the exit than the intro. The intro you can start up smoothly like you normally would, and just then do the switch to your content scene collection, and then once again to go to the exit or the outro scene collection, which should be the only thing you have on there. So, and why is that good? Because once it goes into that scene collection, it automatically plays it. So it's like an automatic. The screen goes black, but then when it comes on, it's automatically ending your show. Whatever you have there, video, music, whatever it is, it'll start to do the ending of your show. And you have that just that quick, abrupt, no fades, no transition, just it's a cut with a black space in between, and I think that's okay. I mean, it's better than dropping frames all over the place. So again, it's not what I would like. I would suggest OBS though. Look into tweaking. I mean, it's a free program. It's open source. And I'm sure they have a whole bunch of suggestions and things like that. But given that this is a problem that many people I feel are having, they should add a transition, a general universal transition um, to the scene collections, so that if you go from one scene collection to another, it applies the main transitional preference that you've set here. Like it has a transition. You can set the one here. I think scene transitions. That main scene transition should apply also. Then, if I'm on stream, if I'm live recording or I'm streaming, it should apply the transition to any change at all, to a scene or to a collection. And I think that should be something they should implement to make the program more versatile in the way that I'm speaking. Because obviously, unless they're going to fix that issue with these resources within OBS, because it's not a computer issue. My computer was not taxing out. There was no indication or my computer was having an issue. All the monitors say, "Hey, we're just drinking colada here. We're taking it easy. You're not doing anything." So, but OBS was freaking out. The camera was the frames were dropping, all that, and I wasn't even streaming or recording. It was just looking at myself. So basically, that's the solution there. So I hope in all these words, someone can get helped with their OBS issue if you're having that issue. Since I got somebody may ask, well, which is better? Should you have OBS or you have Wirecast? My answer is this: for most of you who do not have a whole lot of channels, a whole lot of, you're not doing no broadcast network. I have church, I have businesses, not just one businesses, and each one has their own branding, and I have to make shows around each of those branding and each one for that branding. Uh, and it's only getting bigger and more complex as we go along. Unless you have substantial resources that you have to create these different types of shows and things like that, I would stay with the OBS, and it's a free solution. It's great, wonderful for streaming your games, streaming a program or two. Wonderful. So just go with OBS, absolutely. But I Wirecast, I've used it for a few years, and even though in the beginning, let me tell you what the problem with Wirecast was, and that really frustrated me for the same reason I'm talking about this now. What Wirecast used to do, Wirecast used to have updates. Some of the updates, depending what they were free ones, but the others were you had to pay for it, which I don't complain about because it was a great program, a wonderful streaming tool. And like I said, it can handle everything I threw at it. It just played with it. It played with it. This thing, it's a monster. It's a really good. Wirecast is a monster of a streaming tool. And because you throw everything in there and it's cool with it, hey, yeah, give me some. It's designed more like a professional studio. You have that feel with it. It has that feeling with it and stuff like that. And I think you have something similar, a little more crude, although I've seen it used on some network systems. I've seen that pattern used. So they model after a little differently. I think that the two softwares have a different type of modeling going on. But I like the way Wirecast handles all of that. They handle a whole lot more resources in front of your face without a hitch than I would be afraid, deathly afraid of throwing that all into OBS. And frankly, it would be quite confusing the way OBS is set up to have everything I was doing that I was able to do at Wirecast. And frankly, there are some programs that I couldn't do here with OBS at all. It just would not be possible for me to do it, um, but possible easily with Wirecast. The only problem with that I have with Wirecast was the following, and I told them, I said, every time you guys make me pay for your updates, and even the free ones maybe would do that, but especially the ones you paid for, because that was like a major update. And what happens with a major update? All the work that Moi did in preparing what you would in OBS you would call the scene collection, all that work became incompatible with the new update. Oh man, yeah, that thing. And since I had 50, 100 um, sources in Wirecast for my programs, I would have to go manually. I need to find this, find this, find that. I mean, it was a mess. It was a mess. And I would spend hours and days every time they updated that thing trying to save my show. And I really got upset with that. And when the laptop took a dive, I said, I'm not dealing with Wirecast. Even before the thing took a dive, I wasn't updating anymore with Wirecast because of that. They did an update, and it looks like it didn't go too well for them. I'm thinking everyone, most of the people were feeling like I'm feeling, different degrees of it. Who knows? There probably, I know there was professional studios using them, and then if your updates don't allow us to effortlessly bring in our old work, what are you doing? How can we make a profit if we're doing this for business? If it's a studio, how can you, you're spending hours. You know how much money that is? When a company has to, or an organization has to spend now 2, 3 weeks to reincorporate things that were working, and resources that were available easily before the update. Come on. It was a mess. That's really hurt me. It hurt me because it's my time, it's my life. Things like that really hurt a person. We're not 18 any longer. We our time is precious, is valuable, and then you got these up there, and then on top of that, we're paying for it. You want us to pay for it. So there wasn't it, the pain did not overcome the benefit. They have great updates. They were updating that thing really nicely, but the pain that it caused us is greater than the benefit that we're going to get out of it. So when I got this other system, I said, let me try the OBS. Everyone's sitting pretty with OBS. It's free. Let's give it a try. Let's see what I can do. I had seen it before getting Wirecast. Again, I saw Wirecast is more robust. And I was right. Wirecast is more robust. Way more robust. But OBS is pretty good for, most purposes for most people. So, like I said, I would get Wirecast. Now, they changed the way they're charging you now. Now it's like a subscription. You pay monthly or whatever it is, and you get all the updates. But so it's not an issue of money, and I hope that someone from Wirecast sees this and sees this end part. They don't need to see all the rest of it. But this ending is very important. Wirecast, it's not the money, buddy, because the people who are most hurt are people who can afford it. We're not. It's not about the money. If it was about the money, we'd be using OBS all the time. The issue is the pain in reincorporating old work. When you do an update, please do not do anything that cannot import the old work. The import has to bring in any old way, any old code, whatever, and transform it. You're going to have to do it because it's our life and our time that you're making us wait, buddy. And waste, not wait, waste. And that's really important, especially when you get older in age. Don't waste my time. Don't do it, please. You might as well come at me with a knife. At least I have a chance to defend myself. But don't do that. You're killing me. You're killing me, white guy. Come on now. Come at me with a knife, but don't do that, buddy. Please. Have some mercy, man. Give me a chance. Now, so yeah, you gotta be fair. You're gonna come and kill me. Let me have a chance to defend me. Come at me. But don't do that. That is murder slowly. Okay. So, and then now this OBS issue, I can't complain about OBS because it's free. You know what? It's free. It does a great job. So, I would say about for like 90% of you guys out there, 90%. It's a lot. OBS is the way to go. Forget about it. Don't worry about anything else. OBS. And when you have more needs like I do, because OBS works perfectly for everyone else, but all you guys are doing are one simple thing, a little picture, get online, say hello, and say stupid things for 3 hours while you're playing a game, and then say goodbye, see you next time. So, for that, you just need OBS. OBS, that's it. But if you are an institutional level, you don't have to be an institution, but if you're at that level, you're producing shows, you're very seriously doing recordings and creating products and creating workshops and seminars, and you're really heavy into graphics and bringing things in, and you want things moving around and click here and click there, and you want to do something. Wirecast is what you really should be using. So I still do recommend Wirecast. The only caveat I give you, and when Wirecast resolves that issue, I would love for them to let me know, and I will wholeheartedly go back to them. You need to fix that update issue, because that's a killer. It really is. So, and that's my only complaint. So, if you are an institution, a business, and you do a lot of creatives, you need to use Wirecast, but use it cautiously. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Be prepared to have to spend hours on reincorporating old work. Okay, they have a lot of things here and there, but when you get an update that's major, the old stuff doesn't come in to the new one without a fight. Okay, so just be aware of that. Otherwise, Wirecast is, I think it's a gem, really is, and it's a workhorse. It really is. So here I am. Again, it just depends on your needs and your how much you're going to tax the resource of either one of these. Both of them have the same. I think the same issue for different reasons. Okay, it's a resource. Resources are a problem in OBS. But we have now that workaround, which I hope will help those people who have the system that can do the scene collection switch without it crashing or anything like that. And Wirecast has that updating issue with the older or previous versions resources not populating the new updates easily, or almost impossible, and you have to really do weeks of work to bring them back in. And it's not just bringing them back in, but realize, see, the people who really do the things, heavy work, you gotta understand, it's not just bringing it in. It's that now they have to be sized, they have to be repositioned, they have to be reconfigured. Every little thing. If you got 50, 100 different, come on. You see, there it goes. And I had 100 or more on just one program, just for one show. I had what, 10, 15 different shows to do. It was ridiculous, totally ridiculous. So it makes you really want to rethink, how am I going to do this? Because you don't want to be spending the rest of your years trying to keep up with these updates. Simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to cut it short here. Hopefully, we'll be back on YouTube. I haven't been on my CBH for other reasons, not technical ones. Reasons I've shared before. I'm not going to go back into them now. I'm still suffering from those things, and I just can't keep a regular schedule trying to do that. But it's just not possible. Simply not possible. But we have some good days, and the rest are just, hey, I opened my eyes, right? Okay, so I'm going to get back into the My CBH series that we've had over there, you guys. I got a lot more material I haven't been able to do for you for those reasons. I will get back into that, and everyone else at gaming, we're still doing our gaming platforms and our programs. We developed I think it was 2 or 3 new programs now that before we started seeing the problem in OBS, of course, but now we'll have to start to reconfigure. I haven't done any reconfiguration, just on the one. So we have to do those things as we go along too. And again, this is the type of thing I had to do every time we had an update in Wirecast. It just became unreasonable to continue spending so much time. So hopefully with this OBS fix, we have solved the problem. And again, if anyone is watching from OBS, you can update us, let us know when you have a fix. Transitions would be great for the scene collection, and just a plain fix for the resource capacity within the environment of OBS. Because I think that you have a problem. You definitely have a problem with the some resources sticking. So I think it's so this can be a nasty thing because even though you're telling the code to disconnect and to let go of the resource, um, and you say no, the resources are always there. It just disconnects it from XYZ, but it isn't. It's disconnecting from the screen, but it actually isn't disconnecting the camera. I mean, in my case, it wasn't disconnecting the camera. So that means as I'm going to different scenes, that camera was still there also. And then I had another camera. Probably what was happening is I was having another camera instance going on as I moved along, and it probably would domino. It has the potential of dominoing, and I'm not sure if that's what was happening or not, but that's what it said. Definitely looks like it has the potential of doing or being, in fact. So that is something that they have to look into. But for us, splitting your shows, constructing your shows in a three scene collection format would be the best order of the day to resolve any frame drops. So those who have intensive graphics that you like to implement into your intros and outros, or you have more graphic and video intensive programming, that's one thing I haven't seen OBSers doing much. I think it's because of this problem. I don't think your system, you say your system can't handle, it's not your system per se. I think it's OBS that can't handle. But try incorporating any new things you want to do in your show as a separate scene collection. So don't just throw it into your regular scene. That would be even if you were going to prepare a special video collage of things like my best games in the past 10 years on Twitch or something. That video I would throw into a separate scene collection by itself, so that when the time comes in my program that I want to present that to the audience, then I go and switch to the scene collection all by itself. Ding ding, you get that hard black screen, and then the video starts up in a new collection, and live happy, brother. Live happily. I think that's the way you gotta handle, and you'll have a better show. You'll have a bit more rich. I think people can get a richer OBS experience and shows by using the scene collection as your main incorporator of material, of multimedia segments, if you will, and really make your stream more interesting. I'm talking about streams that obviously are in gaming, but there's even people that would include some multimedia sources to liven up or to make their game streaming more interesting. Your whole show overall, I think it's a good thing. Most people just sit there and play. But some of us like a little more. You guys are talking already. You're talking about things. I don't see why you aren't creating media sources that provide information and just throw it in there like that, and in OBS. And if you try to do that, if you're a person who's already tried and see that OBS doesn't fare well with it, try the scene color. You're a person that should try the scene collection switch and do it that way. I think it'll work great for you, and the streams will improve greatly. I think you can make some really interesting streams by bringing in different things like that. I think it's better. You can bring in announcements, bring in other like comments from viewers or comments from go down the street and ask people, you know, what do you think about Fortnite, for example? What do you think about this game or that game or stuff like that? You can throw that in and as a separate scene collection and throw that video in there to play. Another little good idea for you guys is do not record to the same drive to C. Don't record to C. Always record out of the computer, because onto a separate drive, external drive better. Because the less you make everything inside your computer work on, it also will help your overall stream and stuff like that. All right. Yeah, as you can see, I love to talk, right? Okay. Take care. And I hope this helps you. And see you guys next time. Let's see what else we got for you today. So that's the way I'm approaching it. Just goodbye.